If you don't want to go to the nursing home, then get a job. That's what my son told me, just like that, with that chilling indifference, without a flicker of an eye. I looked at him and smiled. But it wasn't a cheerful smile, it was the kind of smile you wear just before you die inside, or are reborn with a furious resolve. Stay with this story until the very last moment. The ending will astonish you. I stood up slowly, not saying a word. I went to my room, grabbed my small blue suitcase, the very one I'd used to leave the house where I'd raised this man, and began packing the few belongings I had left: clothes, a couple of books, an album of old photographs, and a letter. An hour later, the silence was shattered by the roar of a powerful engine. A sleek, black, luxurious car pulled up in front of the gate. From the window, I saw Bent, Jimena, my daughter-in-law, peeking out with a deep frown. Gina Ramiro walked toward the gate and demanded loudly, "What on earth is that car doing here?" I didn't answer. I just picked up the suitcase, I closed the door to the tiny room I'd been living in, and walked out with my head held high. But to understand how we got here, you have to go back with me many years, to a time when I wasn't a burden, but a mother capable of anything for her son. If you're watching this video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching my story of revenge from. I want to know how far it has reached. Ryan was my only child. His father, Julian, died when Ryan was just 3 years old, a traffic accident on a wet highway. The police told me it was instantaneous. I didn't feel it was. It took me over 10 years to breathe again without pain. From that moment, my entire life revolved around Ryan. I worked as a teacher at a public school, gave private lessons in the afternoon, and sold used books at the neighborhood flea market on weekends, all to ensure he lacked nothing. And he didn't. I sent him to good schools, helped him with his homework, and stayed up late sewing costumes for school plays. I sold my engagement ring to pay for a computer course when he was 12. I taught him to be responsible, respectful, to say thank you and please. I taught him to love books, to stand up for the voiceless. I believed I was raising a noble man. I didn't know I was raising my own executioner. Ryan was a sweet boy. When he was little, he used to write me letters on notebook paper. "Mom, when I grow up, I'm going to buy you a house with a garden. You'll have a hammock and lots of cats." I would cry reading them. I thought, all this effort is worth it. My son will be a good man. But time passes, and with it, promises fade. The first crack appeared when Ryan met Jimena. He was 24, working at a bank. And she was very ambitious, too ambitious. He brought her home one Sunday to introduce her. I remember that day as if it were yesterday. "Mom, this is Jimena," he said with a proud smile. "My girlfriend." She looked me up and down. She was wearing enormous white designer sunglasses, like she was on a yumpin' and red carpet. "Hello," she said without smiling. "Pleased to meet you." Her handshake was as cold as her gaze. That day I knew something was going to change. And it did. After they married, Ryan started visiting less often. He no longer came for Sunday lunch. He claimed he had too much work. When he called, it was for practical matters. "Do you have the birth certificate? Where did you put my high school papers?" One day I was offered an early retirement. My health was fragile, and I felt it was time to rest. I shared the news with enthusiasm. Ryan barely looked up from his cell phone. "Well, I mean, if you feel good about it." There was no congratulations or thank you for everything, only indifference. "I truly wonder if you were in my place, what would you do? Would you choose to be quiet to maintain peace, or would you dare to face everything to reclaim your voice? I want to know your opinion because every story is like a candle that can light the way for someone else." But the worst was yet to come. When Lucia was born, I knew she would be my last refuge. My granddaughter was a ray of sunshine amid so much shadow. At first, Jimena didn't want me to care for her. "I'd prefer her to be with someone younger," she'd say. "Bisesdara Rose and Rosora isn't used to modern babies as if they were appliances, but in time they accepted me watching her some afternoons. Those were the best moments of my week. I'd tell her stories, we'd play hide and seek, I'd teach her to write her name in cursive." Grandma, why do you live in such a tiny little house? She asked me once. Because it's just right, my love. I don't want to bother anyone. But you don't bother anyone. I like being with you. That phrase was etched into my soul. My relationship with Jimena deteriorated. She began avoiding me, speaking to me in ironic whispers. Rose, could you not leave your things scattered in the laundry room? Rose, close the back door. It's letting in the cold. Did you have to make noise just now? It was my house, or at least it had been. They had remodeled it, yes, but the land was mine. Still, I felt like an intruder, a presence that made them uncomfortable. When I tried to discuss it with Ryan, he just said, Jimena is very sensitive, and sometimes you don't help. It was the first time I felt utterly alone. One day, Ryan called me into the Blind's living room. I had just finished washing Lucy's clothes. My hands were damp. Mom, we need to talk. I sat on the edge of the safe. Jimena was standing beside him with her arms crossed. This can't continue, he said. We're tight on expenses. We can't afford to maintain another person. Another person, I asked. I'm your mother, Ryan. I know, but you're an adult and you can make your own decisions. If you don't want to go to a nursing home, you'll have to work. I felt a knot in my throat, not because of the suggestion, but because of the manner, the total lack of affection, memory, or gratitude. That's not fair, I said softly. Life isn't fair, Mom, Jimena replied. Welcome to the club. Tell me whether you have parents, grandparents, or older family members who deserve more respect than they currently receive from their families. Alternatively, tell me if you yourself are going through a situation in which you're not appreciated as much as you truly deserve. Ryan stood up. We've talked it over. Take your time, but we can't go on like this. I stayed sitting there, listening to the wall clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock. And I knew something inside me had just broken. What they didn't know was that I wasn't as alone as they thought. Months ago, I had received a letter that changed my life. It was from Ethan, Esteban, a love from my youth I'd never forgotten. He found me through an old friend. He wrote with tenderness, asking if I still thought of him. And yes, I thought of him more than I should have. We started talking on the phone, then video calling. He lived in the South, had farms, vineyards, and had been widowed for 6 years. I never stopped loving you, Rose, he told me one night. And if you'll allow me, I want to see you again. That sentence was like a hand reaching out in the middle of an abyss. When Ryan told me I had to get a job, I had already made my decision. I wasn't going to beg, scream, or make a scene. I just smiled. I went to my room, opened the suitcase, packed my things, and looked at myself in the mirror. I had wrinkles, yes, hair more white than black, but I also had something I'd lost years ago. Courage. And then it happened. The roar of the car, the sound of Ryan and Jimena approaching the window, the honk. Beep. A tense silence, a quick glance from Lucy, who came running from the kitchen. Grandma, that car came for you. I knelt down, hugged her tightly, and whispered in her ear, never let anyone tell you what you're worth, not even your own blood. I stood up and walked toward the front door. I approached the gate without looking back. Ryan was standing by the gate, frowning. Jimena had her arms crossed, her lips pressed tight, as if she'd bitten a lemon. Lucy was watching me from the hallway with her big, honey-colored eyes. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. They didn't deserve my words. I pushed open the iron gate and felt the cold wind hit my face. The car was there, a black Mercedes-Benz, shining like the night, the engine still running, as if it knew I wouldn't change my mind. The back door opened, and there he was, Ethan. Good afternoon, Rose, he said, stepping out with elegance. I've been waiting for you. I saw Jimena scowl even deeper, as if she couldn't understand what was happening. Ryan stepped forward. Who is this guy? He asked, raising his voice. Ethan extended his hand to me. I took it. Ethan Rivers, he replied without looking at my son. I'm a friend of your mother, and I came to pick her up. She has nothing more to do here. The word, mother, seemed to hit Ryan like a slap. He blinked as if trying to process what he was seeing, and then he spoke to me. What are you doing? Leaving with a stranger, just like that? I looked at him, and for the first time, I spoke. I'm not leaving with a stranger. I'm leaving with someone who sees me, who listens to me, who values me, something you stopped doing a long time ago. Jimena let out a sarcastic laugh. Oh my God, this is like a A soap opera? Running off with a rich old man now? Seriously? Ethan smiled politely, but his eyes held an icy firmness. Ma'am, you started the soap opera when you decided to treat this woman like she was trash. Today is the end of Act 1. Get ready for what's coming next. He helped me into the car. I closed the door, and through the window, I saw Lucy running toward the gate. Grandma, wait! Ethan braked the car before starting off. I rolled down the window. Lucy reached into her pocket and gave me a folded paper. It's a drawing for you. I took the paper, hugged her, and whispered, Never change, my love. You are the one who has a heart. The car started, and I didn't look back. The first few blocks were silent. I watched the streets that had seen me drag grocery bags, enter through the back door as if I were a servant, and swallow insults for not generating income. Every tree, every post was a witness to my silence, and now they would also be witnesses to my departure. Ethan drove smoothly, as if he had all the time in the world. Are you okay? He asked without taking his eyes off the road. I nodded, though I wasn't sure if it was true. I don't know if I'm okay, but I'm awake, and that's already a miracle. He smiled. He took my hand gently. Do you want to go straight home, or do you want to grab something first? Do you have time? I have a lifetime. I laughed. After so long, I laughed for real, and then I knew. I was no longer the woman who walked with her head bowed. I was someone else, or rather, I was returning to who I was before the fear. We went to a roadside cafe, small, warm, with huge windows and the aroma of freshly baked bread. We sat by the window. Ethan ordered 2 lattes and yet some croissants. Do you remember the first time we went to a place like this? He asked me. Of course, I ordered a tea with lemon, and you said that wasn't for happy people. He laughed. And you answered me, then I'm a proud, unhappy person. We both laughed, but then the silence returned. Ethan looked me in the eyes. Rose, did they hurt you badly? No. I swallowed. I felt something break inside. I don't know if it was hurt or simply abandonment. It was years of small things, glances, comments, closed doors, favors that turned into debts. I was extinguished, Ethan, like a candle that burns out without anyone noticing. I noticed, and he said. And at that moment, I burst into tears. I cried for everything I'd kept silent, for every Sunday I ate alone, for every time I pretended not to hear Jimena call me a nuisance, for every hug Lucy wanted to give me that her mother prevented, for every promise Ryan forgot. Ethan didn't say a word. He just held my hand, and right there, I understood that sometimes silence doesn't hurt. Sometimes it heals. Hours later, we arrived at his house, and when I say house, I don't mean an ostentatious mansion with marble columns. It was a country house, and spacious, rustic, surrounded by vineyards glowing under the afternoon sun. It had a porch with rocking chairs, huge windows, and a library that looked like something out of a dream. This is your room, he said, opening a door. It was warm with white sheets and a hand-woven rug. On the nightstand was a bouquet of lilacs. Lilacs? I asked. Your favorites, Ethan replied. I didn't know what to say. I just caressed the petals. You deserve this, Rose. You deserve everything they denied you. That night we had dinner together. A hot soup, homemade bread, and a red wine Ethan had produced in his own winery. We talked about books, old movies, our youth, and at one point he looked at me seriously. You know what hurt me the most? That you never looked for me. 40 years passed, and I never heard from you. I was afraid, I admitted, and then life just happened. I dedicated myself so much to others that I forgot about myself. He nodded. But now you're here, and I promise you that as long as I have breath, no one will ever make you feel invisible again. The following days were a balm. For the first time in decades, no one was yelling at me, no one was correcting how I hung the laundry, for leaving the light on, or for reading late. I was, free. And in that freedom, I began to remember who I was. I started writing small stories again, poems, scattered thoughts, and Ethan encouraged me, read my work, and asked me questions. Sometimes he woke me up with coffee in bed, other times with wildflowers. But like everything in life, the past doesn't always stay behind. One afternoon, while I was reading on the porch, my cell phone vibrated. It was an unknown number. Hello? Silence. Then a voice I recognized instantly. Mom, it's me, Ryan. I froze. What do you want? Can we talk, please? I don't know if I have anything to say to you. Please, it's important. I sighed. Something in his tone worried me. He wasn't arrogant. He sounded vulnerable. Tell me. Jimena left. She left me. She said she couldn't stand all this, that I wasn't man enough, and she left me the house and Lucy. I had to sit down. The world seemed to be spinning backward. And what does that have to do with me? I don't know what to do. Lucy cries all day. She asks for you. I can't handle everything. I feel lost. There was a long pause. I could hear him breathing. I need you, Mom. I stayed silent. I had waited for that phrase for years, but now it didn't hurt. It was just a rusty chain trying to latch onto me again. And then I said, I needed you too, Ryan, for years, and you weren't there. I know, I made a mistake. I was an idiot. Don't tell me, show me. Because if you want me to come back, it won't be to that little room or to your contempt. Ryan sobbed. I hadn't heard him cry since he was 6. Can I come see you? I thought about it and said what I never thought I'd say. Yes, but don't come alone. Who do you want me to come with? Come with Lucy. She has a right to see me. You're going to have to earn it. The morning sun illuminated the vineyards, but my heart was torn between calm and unease. I had agreed to see Ryan, not because I trusted him, but because my granddaughter Lucy deserved to know I hadn't abandoned her. Ethan watched me from the porch as he drank his coffee. Are you sure you want to see them? I nodded, although I was trembling inside, not for him, but for her. Ethan put down his cup, approached me, and stroked my cheek. Whatever happens, I'll be right here. You're not alone, Rose. Not anymore. I took a deep breath, and that's how I waited. At 11:30, the same 10 family car that had so often seen me keep silent pulled into the wooden gate. Ryan got out first. He was no longer the arrogant, haughty man from weeks ago. The bags under his eyes betrayed sleepless nights, and his wrinkled shirt seemed to hang loose on his body. Lucy got out afterward. She ran toward me without a second thought. Grandma! I hugged her with a strength I didn't know I had. Her hair smelled of almond soap, and her body trembled with emotion. I thought you wouldn't want to see me any more, she whispered. Never, my love. Never think that again. Ryan watched us from a few feet away, unsure what to do with his hands or his guilt. Can we talk? He finally asked. I looked him straight in the eye. At 10 minutes, that's all. We sat on the porch. Ethan discreetly went into the house with Lucy and offered her juice and cookies. I saw that through the window as she told him something, moving her hands like wings. My granddaughter was happy, and that gave me strength. Ryan sat across from me. He fidgeted uncomfortably, as if the seat were burning him. I don't know where to start, he said. Then don't start. Just be clear. He swallowed. You're right about everything. I failed you. I allowed things I never should have allowed. I let Jimena humiliate you, make you feel like a burden, and I ignored it. I focused on my job, on my daughter, and I pushed you aside. No, you shoved me aside. There's a difference. He lowered his gaze. He looked defeated. I know I don't have excuses, but I'm here because I'm alone, and only now do I understand what you did for me for years. And you just realized it now? Yes, when I saw myself washing dishes, cooking, looking for clothes for Lucy, taking her to school, and enduring her crying, I understood. I understood that you did all of that, and I never appreciated it. The elements. I'm sorry, Mom. I kept looking at him. He was my son, the one who used to tell me I was his queen when he had a fever and I read him stories. And at the same time, he was the man who allowed his wife to treat me worse than a maid. The two truths coexisted, and they hurt. I don't know if I can forgive you, but I can listen to you. That's a start. We spent the afternoon in the garden. Lucy played with Ethan, who was teaching her to plant a small grapevine. They laughed as if they had known each other forever. Ryan watched me in silence. He loves you, doesn't he? Much more than you allowed yourself to. And you love him. I'm rediscovering him, but yes, I do love him. Ryan nodded, then answered. His pride seemed to dissolve with every word. I don't know if I have the right to ask you this, but could you keep Lucy for a few days? Why, I got a temporary, well-paid job in another city for just a few weeks. I don't have anyone to leave her with, and she wants to stay with you. I turned toward my granddaughter. Her eyes sparkled with hope. Can I, Grandma? Can I stay with you and Ethan? Ethan appeared then, as if the scene had summoned him. It would be an honor, but only if your grandmother agrees. I sighed. All right, but under my rules, no surprise visits, no interference. Ryan nodded immediately. Thank you, really. Before leaving, he turned one last time. I know I have a lot to prove. I just want you to know that I'm willing to undo it. I watched him get into the car and drive away down the dirt road. Part of me felt relief, another part nostalgia, but no part felt guilt. The days with Lucy were a balm. We ate breakfast together, walked through the vineyards, and baked cookies. Ethan became her silent hero. He told her stories, he listened to her without rush, and taught her to recognize stars at night. One afternoon, while Lucy was drawing on the porch, Ethan hugged me from behind. I never imagined having this, he whispered. Having what? Peace, family, a real life. I turned to look at him. His eyes were the moist. Thank you, Rose, for coming back to me. I didn't come back. I found myself again, and you were there. But calm, as always, has a price. One night, while we were having dinner, Lucy received a message on her tablet. It's my mom, she said without looking up. She wants to know if I'm okay, and she told me something weird. What? That Dad is dating a girl, that he now has someone to leave me with, and that maybe he won't need me anymore soon. Ethan and I exchanged glances. How do you feel about that? I asked her. Sad, but at the same time, I don't want to go back. I feel happy here. I hugged her. You will always have a place here, my love. Always. But something ignited in me, Dahemina. That woman couldn't let go of control, even from a distance. And if Ryan was starting to rebuild his life, who would guarantee he wouldn't repeat his mistakes? That night, I sat down at Ethan's desk, took paper and a pencil, and wrote a letter. Dear Rose, for years you allowed others to decide your value, to label you, to hide you. But you are not a shadow, you are light. And even if it trembles sometimes, the light always returns. Never forget who you are. You are starting a new life, and this time, you are not alone. I folded the paper and put it in a small box next to a photo of myself with Lucy. That would be my reminder, my anchor. 2 days later, Ryan returned. He was smiling with a bouquet of flowers, but something in his gaze alerted me. I have news, he said. Good news. Oh, really? I was offered a permanent, well-paid, stable position, but it requires me to move. Where? To another state, to California, Mendoza. And Lucy, he looked down hesitant. She can come with me, or if you want, you could come too. The proposal hit me like a slap. Are you saying I should leave my life, my home, to go live under your wing again? Not under my wing. As a family together. You can help me with Lucy. You can have your own space. It wouldn't be like before. I looked at him for a long time, and then I knew he hadn't completely changed. He still thought I existed to serve, to fill voids, to put out fires he couldn't manage. I stood up. Thank you for the offer, but no. And Lucy? She can decide, but I won't extinguish myself again. That night, while preparing dinner for Lucy, I sat down next to her. Your dad wants to move, and he wants to take you. And you? I'm staying because this is my life now, but you can decide. Lucy cried. She hugged me tightly. I want to stay with you. Are you sure, Bing? Yes, I feel loved here. I feel forgotten there. Ethan appeared at that moment, bringing freshly baked bread. Is there room for one more? Lucy smiled, and for the first time, I knew it was okay, that we had broken the cycle. The morning began with the birds singing, and the aroma of coffee Ethan was brewing. Lucy was still sleeping in the room we had decorated together, full of soft colors and storybooks. It felt like a dream to have built this refuge, this home where love wasn't a debt but a choice. But dreams, I knew well, could be fragile. Ethan approached with 2 cups in his hand and an expression that made me frown. This arrived for you, he said, handing me a beige envelope. With no return address, I took it cautiously. It wasn't unusual for a neighboring winery to send invitations to events or tastings, but upon opening it, I realized it wasn't that. It was a formal, cold, precise letter. We hereby inform you that Miss Jimena Salas has initiated legal action for the full custody of the minor Lucia Salas, arguing wrongful retention, emotional manipulation, and an environment unsuitable for child development. I felt the ground open beneath my feet. What is this? Ethan asked, worried by my paleness. Jimena is accusing me of having kidnapped my granddaughter. Ethan read the letter, his brow furrowed, his jaw tightened. It's a dirty move, but I'm not surprised. I knew something like this could happen. And now what do? I asked, feeling vulnerable for the first time in weeks. We call someone. I know someone, a retired lawyer, but a very good one. His name is Bruno Ferrer. I'll tell him everything. That very afternoon, Bruno came to the ranch. A man in his 60s with a calm voice, firm hand, and sharp eyes. He listened to my story without interruption, taking notes, observing, analyzing every detail. They have a daughter together, but the mother is using the system to manipulate the situation, he said in the end. This won't be easy, but we have what we need to fight back. Can she take Lucy away from me? I asked, my voice breaking. Bruno took a deep breath. Only if Lucy wants to go with her, or if she proves that you are unfit. But from what I see, there's nothing here that indicates danger. On the contrary. Jimena can lie, she's done it before, and we will tell the truth and we will prove it. I felt protected. For the first time, someone was talking to me about justice, not resignation. That night, the three of us had dinner together. Lucy noticed something was different in the air. Did something happen? She asked, pushing her noodles with her fork. I looked her in the eyes. I didn't want to lie to her, but I also didn't want to burden her with anxieties that weren't hers. Your mom wants to see you, and she's a little upset because you didn't go back with her. Lucy looked down. Is she mad because I want to stay with you? Maybe, but it's not your fault. You have the right to choose where you feel happy. She got up, hugged me tightly, and whispered, I don't want them to take me away from here. And my heart broke. Ethan took her to bed. When he returned, he found me on the porch, smoking a cigarette after years of not doing so. I don't want to lose everything again, I told him. You won't lose anything. Now you have someone who supports you, and you're not alone, Rose. This time, we're going to fight together. Days passed, and more documents arrived. Jimena hired an aggressive lawyer, one of those who smell fear. The accusations were cruel, manipulation, parental alienation, even negligence. Bruno prepared an impeccable defense, photos, testimonies, school reports, but above all, he requested something crucial, that Lucy be allowed to speak with an independent psychologist. She would be heard, and that could change everything. Ryan, meanwhile, seemed caught in the middle. He wrote me a short message. I don't agree with what Jimena is doing, but I don't want more fights either. I hope we can resolve this without hurting Lucy. I ignored him. I no longer had space in me for the lukewarm. Days later, the electric gate rang. Ethan looked at the camera and frowned. It's Jimena. What? She's alone with the attitude of a dethroned queen. I smoothed my hair. I looked at myself in the mirror. Nah, it wasn't for her. It was for me. I wanted her to see me as strong, whole. I went out to meet her. Jimena got out of a late model car with dark sunglasses and a perfume that invaded everything in its path. She had an envelope in her hand and a fake smile. Rose, she said, as if we were old friends. How nice to see you looking so well. What do you want? I've come to give you a chance to resolve this like adults, like civilized women. Civilized? You're accusing me of kidnapping my granddaughter. I'm defending my daughter. You're not her mother. You're nobody legally. You can play the nice grandma for a few days, but Lucy's coming back with me whether you like it or not. Lucy has already chosen, and that's what's eating you up, isn't it? Jimena moved closer, lowering her voice. You're a lonely old woman, a burden. That ranch is going to fall apart, and when Ethan gets tired of playing happy family, you're going to be left with empty hands. Lucy doesn't belong to you, and I swear on my life that I'm going to take her, even if I have to destroy you on the way. Her gaze was pure venom. Are you finished? I asked, without blinking. I'll see you in court. She smiled and left. That night, I cried silently in the kitchen, my hands trembling, not from fear, but from fury. How dare she go so far? How was it possible that they had relegated me, forgotten me, and now they were accusing me of holding love by force? Ethan found me there, tears falling onto the counter. "You can't let her win, not again," he said, taking my face in his hands. "I don't want to fight. I want to live. Then we're going to fight to live. There's no other way." And he was right. The following days were a hurricane of hearings, social worker visits, psychological interviews. Lucy responded with unexpected maturity. She said firmly that she felt cared for, loved, and respected in our house, that in her old house, no one listened to her, that her mother was always absent or in a bad mood. The psychologist wrote a clear report. The minor expresses a strong emotional bond with her grandmother, Rose Salas, with whom she states she feels protected, understood, and happy. No emotional manipulation is detected. It is recommended that the stability of the current environment be preserved. When Bruno read it to me, I couldn't help but cry. It was the first time a legal document had confirmed something I already knew. Lucy wasn't being retained. She was safe. Days later, we were called to the courthouse. Jimena arrived impeccable with her lawyer and her mask of marble. I arrived with Bruno, Ethan, and an accelerated heart. Lucy didn't attend, as advised by the judge. The judge read the reports and listened to the lawyers. The tension was palpable. "Ms. Jimena Salas," he finally said, "we find no grounds to withdraw shared custody, nor to doubt the suitability of Ms. Rose Salas as a temporary caregiver. The minor has clearly expressed her wishes. Therefore, custody will remain as is, and scheduled visits will be established for you." Jimena clenched her teeth. Her lawyer put a hand on her arm as if to calm her. "This doesn't end here," she told me in passing. "You don't know what I'm capable of." I looked at her with a peace she couldn't understand. "Yes, I do know. That's why I'm not afraid of you." That night, we had a special dinner. Ethan cooked his famous meatloaf. Lucy made an improvised cake with cream and cookies. We laughed as if we had defeated a dragon. And in a way, we had. After putting Lucy to bed, Ethan and I sat on the porch. "You were a lioness today," he told me. "Today I felt alive for the first time in a long time." He took my hand, kissing my fingers. "I love you, Rose, just as you are, and I want everything with you." I looked at him, my chest filled with something new, not gratitude or dependency. Love, Banan, free chosen. I never thought love could feel like this after so many years, after so many wounds. With Ethan, it wasn't just companionship, it was freedom. It was knowing that someone was looking at me and truly seeing me. For weeks, we lived in a tense calm. Jimena's threat seemed to have vanished after losing in court. But deep down, I knew she hadn't given up. That woman didn't know defeat. She only knew how to hide to attack again. And that attack wasn't long in coming. It all started with small signs. One day, Lucy's school principal called me. "Mrs. Salas," she said with a worried tone, "we received a request for a change of legal guardian. It states that you are no longer authorized to pick up Lucy." "What?" "The request was signed by Jimena Salas, but it has no judicial backing. Of course, we won't allow it, but I'm informing you because it's serious." I hung up, my hands trembling. I sat on the edge of the bed with a feeling of absolute vulnerability. Ethan, seeing me like that, knelt in front of me. "Her again?" I nodded. "She's trying to slowly remove me from Lucy's environment, sneakily. She won't be able to, but we'll have to be alert." And that night I spoke with Bruno. He confirmed my suspicions. Jimena was appealing the sentence, but not only that, she had made false reports of psychological abuse and social isolation. Most seriously, she had hired a private investigator to follow me. There were photos, videos, even screenshots of my Monday's social media. "This is no longer just a legal issue," Bruno said. "It's a personal attack. She wants to destroy you. And can I do something? Yes, we can counterattack, but we have to go all in." I sighed. I looked out the window. Lucy was playing with Ethan in the garden, blowing soap bubbles. Her laughter was so pure that it hurt to imagine it being extinguished by her mother's shadow. "Then we will fight," I said. "For her, for me." Bruno nodded. "And this time, we'll expose her." The following days were a whirlwind. We gathered proof of everything: calls, audio messages, texts. Jimena had threatened to kick me out if necessary. She had yelled at Lucy over the phone, telling her not to be ungrateful. She had even lied about her job, declaring false income to avoid sharing custody costs. Bruno prepared a complaint for defamation, judicial harassment, and emotional damage. But just when we felt we were in control, something happened that chilled me to the bone. One night, Lucy didn't return from school. The teacher assured me her mother had picked her up because it was her scheduled visit, but that visit was not authorized. I panicked. I called the school, Bruno, Ethan. No one knew anything. I dialed Jimena's number, switched off. It was 3 hours of hell until I received a message. Lucy is fine. She just needed to be with her mother. I'll let you know when I bring her back. It didn't say where they were or when she would return. Only that. Ethan hugged me tightly while I trembled like a leaf. We called the police. We filed a report. I didn't sleep that night. I just cried. I felt like my soul was being ripped from my body. The next morning, Jimena appeared at the ranch with Lucy by the hand. The girl's eyes were swollen from crying. Here she is, she said with cynicism. She's fine. She just needed to be with me. You're not her mother, Rose. You can't forbid me from seeing her. You didn't have permission. That was kidnapping. Oh, please, dramatic as always. Look at her. She's alive. No. Lucy broke free from her hand and ran toward me. Grandma! I hugged her fiercely. I had never felt such relief. We are going all the way with this, I told Jimena, my voice trembling but firm. Do it. We'll see who is left standing at the end. And she left. Bruno activated the entire legal system. He requested a temporary restraining order. The judge accepted. Jimena could not approach within 1,000 feet, 300 meters, without a court order, but that only infuriated her more. A week later, someone broke the windows of Ethan's car. Days later, we found animal feces at the entrance of the ranch. One morning, we heard a crash. Someone had thrown rocks onto the roof. Lucy woke up screaming. Ethan went out with a baseball bat. He didn't find anyone. We reported everything, but the authorities said the usual. Without proof, there's not much we can do. I wasn't sleeping anymore. I lived in constant alert. Ethan proposed something radical. Rose, let's move. What? I have a house in Northern California, more isolated. We could start over there without the burden of this madness. And abandon this? It's not surrendering now, it's protecting you. And protecting Lucy. I thought about it for days, but every corner of that ranch had a history. Every tree, every tile was part of my identity. I couldn't let Jimena steal that from me, too. No, if I leave, she wins, and I won't allow it. Ethan nodded. He didn't pressure me, but I understood that the finish was reaching him, too. One afternoon while shopping in town, a woman approached me in the supermarket line. You're Lucy's grandmother, right? Yes. I heard your daughter-in-law reported you for abuse. They say the girl isn't going to school. Is that true? I felt a pit in my stomach. That's a lie. Well, you know how people are. Some people shouldn't be raising children. I left without buying anything. The smear campaign had begun. Neighbors looked at me with suspicion. Some withdrew their invitations. Others stopped greeting me. They were isolating me, and that hurt more than Jimena's insults. One night after putting Lucy to bed, I went out into the garden. I looked at the sky, seeking answers. Why is this happening to me? I murmured into the air. I just wanted to take care of my granddaughter. To love without fear, is that too much to ask? Ethan came out and hugged me from behind. You're not alone, even if the world screams otherwise. I am with you. And if she doesn't stop, if she keeps going until she breaks us, then we will resist until our last breath. A few days later, we received the final summons. Jimena had secured an extraordinary hearing. She was going to present new evidence to request exclusive and definitive custody. It was her final blow. The trial would be in a week, and I had to prepare. Bruno gave me a piece of advice. Don't just tell your side, show your life, show who you are, let the judge see that you're not a threat yet, you're a foundation. That night, I wrote a letter. I didn't know if I would read it, but it helped me organize my soul's day. My name is Rose Salas. I'm 66 years old. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes, but I would never stop loving someone who needs me. I'm not fighting for pride. I am fighting for a bond that life gave me and which I will not surrender to anyone's whim. I put the letter in my purse and decided that would be my shield. Lucy, knowing about the trial, was scared. Am I going to have to leave? No, my love, this time we are going to win. And if not, I looked at her, my soul breaking, then we'll go together, wherever it may be, but together. She smiled. She hugged me. You are my home, Grandma. And that sentence was worth more than 1,000 rulings. The day of the trial arrived with a mixture impossible to describe. Fear, hope, rage, and something deeper that I didn't know if it was courage or simply exhaustion. I dressed soberly, combed my hair carefully, and before leaving, I hugged Lucy tightly. I love you, Grandma, she said, looking at me with those enormous eyes. I love you more, my queen. No matter what happens, nothing will separate us. Do you know that? She nodded with silent tears. Ethan held my hand all the way to the car. Bruno was waiting for us at the courthouse door. Today, we're not just going to defend you, he said. We're going to show who Jimena really is. We entered the courtroom. She was there, impeccable, in a tight black dress, her hair pulled back, perfect makeup, a mask. She looked at us as if we were insects. I took a deep breath. I wasn't going to break. The judge, an older man with a severe expression, started the hearing. We are here to resolve the appeal filed by Miss Jimena Salas, who requests exclusive custody of her daughter, Lucy, and the revocation of the provisional custody granted to Ms. Rose Salas. Everything was at stake. Jimena spoke first. Your Honor, my mother-in-law has emotionally manipulated my daughter, alienated her from me, interfered with her development by preventing contact with my family, and created an inappropriate authority figure. Lucy needs a mother, not an obsessive and possessive grandmother. Those words hurt me. But it hurt even more that she said them with a trembling voice, as if she truly believed she was right. She presented out-of-context videos, one where Lucy told her she didn't want to see her mother, another where I called her my baby. Bruno stood up. With all due respect, those fragments show nothing illegal or inappropriate. Showing affection or respecting the wishes of a child who is distressed upon seeing her mother does not constitute alienation. The judge nodded without comment. Then Bruno counterattacked. He called Lucy's teacher to the stand. She testified that the girl had often arrived crying after visits with her mother, that she had shown fear, and that she once told her, "My mom screams at me if I talk about my grandmother." Jimena denied everything, feigning indignation. Next, a neighbor who had heard Jimena shouting when she came to pick up the girl testified. A brave, older woman. "It's not fair," she said. "Rose has raised that girl with love. That girl, the mother, only shows up to cause trouble." Then Bruno requested that Lucy's testimony, recorded by the court psychologist, be heard. The room fell silent. "My grandma takes care of me. She reads me stories. She hugs me when I'm scared. I get scared with my mom. I don't want to live with her." The words were soft, but the impact was brutal. Jimena turned pale, and Bruno closed with conviction. "We are not asking to take away her right to be a mother, but to prioritize the welfare of the minor, and that welfare is undoubtedly with Rose." Finally, the judge allowed me to speak. I stood up with the letter in my hand. "Your Honor, I did not come here to fight for pride. I came because I could not stand idly by while a child was torn from her only safe haven." I read the entire letter. Every word came from the deepest part of my soul. I'm not perfect, but I've given everything for Lucy. I have protected her with my body, my time, and my love. I don't ask for recognition. I only ask that you allow me to continue caring for her as she needs, as I need. When I finished, the judge lowered his gaze. The room was silent. He sighed, paused for a long time, and then spoke. "This court rules that the provisional custody granted to Ms. Rose Salas is maintained and becomes definitive. The biological mother will maintain a supervised visitation schedule and must begin a therapeutic process before requesting any future modifications." I felt the world stop. Ethan squeezed my hand. Bruno smiled. "And Jimena?" Jimena remained motionless, as if she couldn't understand what had just happened. The judge added, "This court also recommends that the defendant refrain from making unsubstantiated legal actions or smear campaigns under penalty of more severe sanctions." We had won. Outside the courthouse, Lucy was waiting for me with Ethan. When she saw me, she ran toward me with a huge smile. "Can we go now?" "Yes, my love, we are free now." I hugged her. I felt her heart beating against mine, and I knew that no matter what happened, nothing could break that bond. Jimena came out minutes later. She looked at me with pure hatred. Enjoy your victory. It won't last. It's not a victory, I said calmly. It's justice. This doesn't end here, you ridiculous old woman. It already ended, even if you don't accept it. She turned and walked away with furious steps. I watched her disappear into the crowd. For the first time, I didn't feel fear. I felt pity because she had lost everything due to pride and didn't know how to love Shaya. The following days were a tense calm. I kept looking over my shoulder, but Ethan convinced me to install cameras on the ranch. We also hired an additional lawyer for any eventuality. Little by little, the community started coming closer again. Some apologized, others just kept quiet, ashamed. But I didn't hold a grudge. I just wanted to move forward. Lucy returned to her class happily. She started drawing again, singing, playing without fear. I too started smiling again. Ethan and I shared long afternoons in the garden. We talked about life, the future, the love that had arrived when we least expected it. One afternoon, while watching the sunset, he took my hand. I love you, Rose. And I love you. Will you marry me? I looked at him incredulously. Are you crazy? Yes, for you. We laughed and I cried. I said yes. The wedding was intimate. Just a few friends, Bruno, and of course Lucy, who carried the rings and cried with emotion. I never imagined wearing white again, but I did, not out of tradition, but as a symbol of rebirth. Inside me, there was no longer debris, only seeds of something new. A few months later, a black SUV stopped in front of the ranch. Lucy and I were planting flowers. As Ethan was reading the newspaper under the porch, a man in a suit got out of the vehicle. Ms. Rosa Salas? Yes, I'm from Horizon Publishing. Editorial Horizonte. We have a proposal for you. Publishing? We read your letter. The judge shared it with us in a legal forum. It moved us deeply. We would like to publish it, and, if you are willing, accompany it with your complete story. I was speechless. My story? Yes, we believe many women need to read it, to see that resistance is possible, that they are not alone. Lucy squeezed my hand. Ethan approached, smiling. What are you going to tell him? I'll say yes, I said, because I'm no longer afraid to tell who I am. I accepted the publisher's proposal without exactly knowing what I was getting into. I'd never written anything longer than a grocery list, but when I sat down in front of the blank notebook, the words began to flow on their own, as if they had been waiting their turn to breathe for years. The first sentence I wrote was, My name is Rose Salas. I was told I was old, that I was a nuisance, that I should keep quiet, but one day I decided to stand up. For weeks, I dedicated every morning to writing, remembering, crying, healing. The pain was transformed into paragraphs, the rage into chapters, the loneliness into a voice. Bruno helped me organize the facts. Ethan corrected my spelling mistakes with infinite patience. Lucy would sometimes sit next to me and say, Are you telling the part where you saved me, Grandma? So yes, my love, but I'm also telling how you saved me. The book was published 6 months later with a title that left no room for doubt. If you don't want to go to the nursing home, stand up. The cover showed a silhouette with her back to the viewer, a suitcase in her hand, standing in front of an open gate. I didn't expect it to sell much. I thought a few women would read it in some local library, but the unexpected happened. It went viral. Social media was flooded with quotes from the book. Women of all ages began sharing their stories. Some wrote me letters, others sent me audio messages crying. One even came from another state just to give me a hug. Your story made me go back home, and she told me. It made me apologize to my mom. It made me understand everything I didn't want to see. I couldn't believe it. One day, a television host called me to invite me to an interview program. We want you to come tell your story live. It's inspiring. You are changing lives. I hesitated. I didn't like the exposure, but Bruno insisted. You have to go, Rose, not for you, but for all the women who are still silent. I went, entering the studio trembling. The lights, the cameras, the microphones. Everything seemed overwhelming, but when the host greeted me warmly, something in me calmed down. Rose, she said, thousands of women are watching this. What would you say to those who are living what you lived? I thought for a few seconds and then replied, "Don't believe that you are alone. Don't listen to anyone who tells you it's too late, that you are no longer valuable because there is always a day to start over. Even if you are 60, 70, or 80 years old, it's never too late to stand up." The ovation was immediate, and it wasn't for me, and it was for all of them. After the program, life changed. I was invited to give talks at community centers, interviewed on a radio shows, and even a university asked me to speak at a senior citizens' rights event. But I remained the same. I still woke up early to make Lucy's breakfast. I still cleaned my garden, watered the plants. I still sat with Ethan to watch the sunset. One day, while we were drinking iced tea, mate, under the porch, he looked at me and said, "Do you realize what you did?" "What?" "You turned humiliation into dignity, sadness into strength. Not everyone does that, Rose." "I just did what any mother or grandmother would do," I replied. "Defend those they love." "Yes, but you also defended yourself, and that is harder." Jimena stayed away. She complied with the supervised visits with distance and coldness. Little by little, Lucy started talking to her without fear. I never spoke ill of her mother, never, because I understood a profound truth. You don't win by hating, you win by loving with greater strength. One day, Lucy asked me, "Did you forgive her, Grandma?" I paused for a moment. "I don't know if I forgave her, but I don't hate her anymore." "Is that the same?" "No, it's more than enough." Years later, the book was adapted into a stage play. I was invited to the premiere. The curtain opened, and I saw a white-haired actress portraying me with the same suitcase in her hand, with the same tremor in her voice. Hearing my own words in another body made me cry. Ethan squeezed my hand. Lucy, already a teenager, hugged me. "That's you, Grandma, the bravest of them all." The play ended with the actress opening the gate and getting into an imaginary car. The audience gave a standing ovation. It was then that I understood my story was no longer just mine. The final recognition came when I was awarded a Citizen Merit Medal. In the speech, the mayor said, "Today we honor a woman who taught us that old age is not synonymous with uselessness, that motherhood has no age, and that love can overcome any judgment." I approached the microphone. I no longer trembled. "Thank you for this recognition, but I want to say something more. When my son told me, 'If you don't want to go to the nursing home, go get a job,' he didn't know he was giving me an opportunity, because sometimes what seems like the end is just the beginning." The people applauded, but I looked up at the sky and thought of Julian, of how I wish he could see me now, free, alive, reborn. Today, looking back, I don't see a tragedy. I see a story of transformation. Lucy grew up surrounded by love. She chose to study psychology. She says she wants to help other girls like her. Ethan and I continue walking together, aging hand in hand, laughing at our wrinkles and our clumsiness. My house filled with books, flowers, and visitors. Many women come to tell me their stories. Some bring me to apple pie, empanadas. Others just need to talk. I always listen to them, and every time they ask me how it all started, I tell them the same thing, with a phrase, a humiliation, but also with a smile, with a suitcase, and with a car that arrived just in time. Because it wasn't the luxury, it wasn't the new husband, it wasn't the book. It was choosing not to extinguish myself, not to surrender, not to believe what others said I was. Because the fire we have inside is not put out by contempt. It is ignited by a decision. And if someone ever tells you that you are old, that you're useless, that you are a nuisance, remember this: you are not what others say, you are what you decide to be. And if they tell you, "If you don't want to go to the nursing home, go get a job," smile, stand up, open the gate, because maybe your new life is waiting for you right there. They say that when one door closes, another one opens. But what no one tells you is that sometimes you have to have the courage to cross it alone, with your back straight, with the suitcase trembling in your hand, with your soul in pieces, but willing to put yourself back together. I crossed that door, and on the other side, there were no easy promises. There was no immediate comfort. What I found was uncertainty, silence, and a freedom that scared me. Because yes, freedom is also scary when you are not used to choosing for yourself. But I chose at every step, with every tear, with every written word. I chose to rebuild myself. I chose to listen to my voice, the one I had silenced for decades. Today I live in a modest but warm house, with windows that let in the light as it didn't before. Lucy is no longer a child. She is a brilliant, sensitive young woman, with that mix of tenderness and strength that only well-healed scars can leave. Ethan ages with me. His presence is a refuge, not a life raft. I don't need him to save me. I just need him to accompany me. And he does it every day with a calm smile and a silence that says more than 1,000 speeches. Our routine is simple. We have breakfast looking at the garden. Lucy sometimes joins us with her cup of tea, and we talk about simple things, books, flowers, dreams. But sometimes between sips of tea, the conversation turns deeper. Grandma, she said to me one morning, do you regret everything that happened? I thought about answering yes, that I wish I had never suffered, that I wish my son hadn't betrayed me, that I wish Julian were still alive, but lying to her would be robbing her of the truth. No, my love, I don't regret it. Because if all that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be who I am today. And perhaps you wouldn't be here with me. She smiled. She hugged me without saying more because she understood. Over the years, I learned that life is not a straight line. It is a spiral. Sometimes you go up, sometimes you go down. Sometimes it seems like you are in the same place, but you are not the same. I am not the same woman who trembled when she heard her son yell, nor the one who bowed her head when her daughter-in-law humiliated her, nor the one who thought she no longer had a place in the world. Now I am the woman who writes, who hugs, who listens, who guides. I am the grandmother who receives letters from other grandmothers, from mothers, from daughters, women who tell me, thank you for telling your story, you gave me courage. And I answer them, the courage was already in you, someone just needed to remind you. Sometimes I wonder what happened to Ryan. I found out through others that he divorced Jimena, that he lives alone in a small apartment, that he has no relationship with Lucy. I don't hate him, I don't wish him ill, but I don't feel sorry either. Sometimes the harshest punishment is not prison or rejection. It's having to live with the conscience of what you did. I forgave him. Not for him, but for me, because I didn't want to carry that weight, because I understood that letting go is not surrendering, it is liberating yourself. And I did that. I also learned to say no. No to demands that don't respect me, no to commitments that steal my peace, no to roles that are imposed on me, no to returning to what already hurt me. Saying no is also an act of self-love. But more than anything, I learned to say yes. Yes to tenderness, yes to starting over, yes to trusting, even though I had been disappointed, yes to crazy projects, yes to love in old age, yes to me. One day, while going through old boxes, I found a letter Julian had written to me years before he died. I had completely forgotten about it. It had his hurried handwriting, his way of speaking to me without beating around the bush. It said, Rose, if one day you feel alone, don't look outside. Look in the mirror. There you will find the bravest woman I ever met. I cried like a child, not out of sadness, but out of gratitude, because I understood that even before I knew it myself, he already saw the strength in me that now flourishes. Sometimes older women are invisible to the world, as if we no longer have anything to say, to contribute, to live. But that is a lie. We are living libraries. We are roots. We are history and future. We were made to believe that after a certain age, all that remains is to wait. But I say the opposite. After a certain age is when everything becomes clearest, when you no longer need to prove anything, when the only thing that matters is living truthfully. Once at a lecture I gave at a university, a student asked me, "What is dignity to you?" I smiled and replied, "It's being able to look at yourself in the mirror without lowering your gaze. It's not needing anyone's approval to know your worth. It's choosing yourself every day, even if no one else does." She remained silent, nodded, and I knew she had understood. If I had to leave one message for every woman who hears my story, it would be this: don't wait for someone else to rescue you. Don't wait for them to value yourself. Don't wait for them to applaud you to get up. Do it anyway. Do it trembling. Do it with fear, but do it, Because sometimes life begins precisely at the moment you decide not to be the victim, but the author of your own story. And if one day you have to pack a suitcase, don't see it as an end. It's just the prologue to everything you are going to write afterward. My name is Rose Salas. They told me my story was over, and I proved to them that it was just beginning. The names and places in this story have been changed to protect the identities of those involved. We do not share this to judge, but in the hope that someone will pause and reflect on how many mothers are silently suffering within their own homes. I truly wonder, if you were in my place, what would you do? Would you choose silence to preserve peace, or would you dare to confront everything in order to reclaim your voice? I long to hear your thoughts, because every story is like a candle that can light the path for someone else. I firmly believe that God always blesses and that courage leads us toward brighter days. As we close, I leave you with two of the channel's most beloved stories. I am certain they will surprise and inspire you. Thank you for staying with me until this moment.